Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm your host, Tony, and this is Hard4Games. Now, as you may recall, back in January of this year, 2021, I'm going to say the year just in case you're watching this in the future, we were graced with an overdump of Zelda 64, an earlier version of Ocarina of Time. We received data from a Space World 97 era build of the game, written to a Nintendo 64 development cartridge, and then half overwritten by F-Zero-X, which is why it was an overdump. It was additional data on the cartridge that managed to survive. But the content that did remain was a wealth of information that included maps, textures, images, and very importantly, the script. It was a ton of information that modders immediately began to experiment with. And it wasn't long before you could play as Link running around in this earlier version of Hyrule. It was amazing. However, it was obviously very incomplete. You were Link, you were in this world, but the moment-to-moment gameplay, the scenario was gone, seemingly gone forever. However, a dream team led by Zell has recreated nearly everything that the data dump has given us. By taking the Zelda 97 contents, re-implementing the script, adding in content from the Giga leak, which was previous to this, and creating custom content as well based on old videos and screenshots, we now have a more complete version of this world, now known as Ocarina of Time, the Space World 97 Beta Experience. That is the name of the mod anyways. And for those of you that have been waiting decades, for a beta recreation, this is it. This is the best and most complete beta recreation to date. So let's go ahead and dive right in. The way that this mod is set up is interesting because it's supposed to mirror the way that the Space World 97 demo actually went, with menus and sub-menus, basically different featurettes and areas that Nintendo wanted to showcase to the public. As you can see here, we have Hyrule Tour, Dungeon Tour, Battle Tour, and Extras. Within Extras is this map select, and this is excellent because it is a way for Zell and company to showcase and feature all of the areas they restored from both the Giga leak and the 97 overdump that would not have been featured in the actual Space World demo that Nintendo prepared. And here we have the credits. Lots of credits here because, of course, a lot of work went into this. We're going to go ahead and start off in Link's house, and oh man, it is just so difficult to state how different this is. Everything from Link's coloring to the fact that his hat has its own unique physics that you can really see when he Z-targets an enemy, it waves back and forth, to the text bubbles, to the fact that Navi's wings are different. Her coloring is different when she targets things. Just everything is so vastly unique. Now here we're going to learn that the A and B buttons are swapped comparatively to retail, so you will often see me attacking doors instead of opening them just because there's a bit of a learning curve for me. Mechanically, you're going to notice that so much is different. There's a manual jump. You're going to notice that when Link pulls out his sword, it's two actions. He pulls it out and then he swipes, versus the retail game where it's one action. He pulls and swipes simultaneously. Now over here, you're going to see a fence, and the reason why this exists is because, of course, this was for a demo. Nintendo wanted a specific area to showcase. They didn't want players wandering off forever into Hyrule Field or into an unfinished area. Now here's me experimenting with the manual jump mechanics, and then also kind of showcasing the difference between the manual jump and the automatic jump. In this particular mod, there's a different sound for each of them, and you can also tell when I'm doing which based on the green icon button at the top, right? If it says jump and I'm jumping, well, then I'm doing it manually. Now before we leave Kokiri Forest, let's go ahead and check out an earlier, much larger version that was discovered in the Giga leak. And yes, in the Space World 97 version, we learned that Link had a spell where he could turn into Navi and basically fly around like a debug camera. So cool. Like, I don't know if this would have been limited to certain areas because of course, you get high enough where you can, see the edges of the game. But regardless, just such a neat feature, especially for me who's trying to showcase large, vast areas in a short amount of time. But Zell and team added characters into this. They added the enemies back in. Just so cool to see this giant village, the early version of the village, actually look alive once again. Now here we are doing a similar thing in the earliest version of Hyrule Field that we have, utilizing that spirit spell to become Navi and fly around. Now in this footage here, you can really see how you can see the seams of the world, the edge of the world. So once again, I don't know how this would have been utilized. I'm thinking maybe it would have been used in dungeons where you could fly ahead and kind of see what's coming to allow you to prepare, or maybe Nintendo would have included a much lower invisible ceiling for outdoor spaces. Totally unknown, all speculation at this point. Those are just my guesses. So this is probably a good time to talk about the other icons, items, and spells. Pretty much everything here has I don't want to say a makeover, it's a demake. It's the original 1997 icons. They're more bubbly, they're more cartoonish. For example, the boots are a little more round. Everything looks just a little bit different. And you're going to notice when we draw up some more spells that our spells are based on the spirit medallions. Of the new spells, I'd probably say the Navi one is my favorite, and the Stealth Shadow spell is my second favorite. It allows you to be invisible to enemies. Alright, well that was a hell of a tangent. We are back to where we started from at the beginning of the game. We are in the Deku Tree, the first dungeon of the game. And of course, this is vastly different. The retail version is much more tight, much more claustrophobic. This is functionally a giant indoor tower. Now this is a really fun dungeon to play through, mostly because, well, it's Discovery, it's so different, right? It's basically a new dungeon. But that said, it is very simplistic. It's easy to get through, the puzzles don't really offer much in the way of challenge, but that's also to be expected. This is a beta version of the first dungeon of the game. Now I definitely gotta chime in here because this area is super famous. This room in particular was featured in many early screenshots of the game, and it's the reason why people for years believed that there was a separate wood temple, a temple that would be different from the forest temple and different from the Great Deku Tree. People saw the windows carved into the sides of this room and thought, well, hey, the Great Deku Tree doesn't have windows carved into it. That doesn't make any sense, and we can't see them from the outside, so this must be something different. Well, no, apparently it was all just the Great Deku Tree and it originally had windows. The Dongo's Cavern is another one that is particularly interesting because it is really a distorted funhouse mirror of the retail version. So much of it looks so similar, but is also just so different simultaneously. So instead of nitpicking this dungeon apart, I'm just gonna go ahead and showcase some footage from it so you can see for yourself. If you'd like me to do a full feature on this dungeon or any of the other locations in this video, definitely let me know in the comments below. Here we have Hyrule Castle, and it's interesting because it is much less guarded. We don't have that gate and tower as we turn the corner here. There's just much less preventing you from getting to the castle itself. Now we have Hyrule Field, and in the Space World demo, you could run around it on Epona. In fact, you could do a little racing while you were out here as well. And fun fact, in the original Hyrule Field, there were supposed to be other horses, wild horses, running around, galloping about as well. And we will see that a little bit here. And as a little bonus surprise, they also added in Ganon's horse as well. I also want to showcase some of the bonus areas as well. Here we have the exterior of the Temple of Time, and it just looks so incredibly different. Here we have Kakariko Village, flying around as Navi, and soon we will be in the Beta Graveyard. I love how the enemies can sense Navi, but they can't do anything about her. Now this is one of the more unique areas that was recovered. It's still, to my knowledge, unknown what it was supposed to be. It could be the Goron Mines or Death Mountain Caverns or something to that effect. But it is a very labyrinthian, maze-like area with really only one open space where Link can fight and sort of breathe in. Other than that, it's very tight corridors. Here we have a very, very early version of Zora's River leading up to Zora's Domain, and I put on the stealth magic because I wanted you all to be able to see these really cool Alpha Octorok enemies that are just so incredibly cartoony and interesting looking. Now lastly, I wanted to showcase the special course. Now this is interesting because the origins of this are a little bit vague. It may have started off as a type of Gerudo training ground, or it may have just been a demo thrown together for Space World. Basically, you have 3 different rooms with different objectives where Link gets to get to know and explore some of the different aspects and mechanics of the game. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Zell and his team again for putting the hard work into this. I'm just going to let the credits roll a couple of times here while I'm talking, because everyone that worked on this just did an amazing job. Now, there's just so much to cover here, and I could only do so much content in one video. So if you would like me to cover a specific area, a dungeon, what have you, in more depth, again, let me know in the comments below, and I can do a video specifically focusing on that location. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. If you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, join us on Patreon if you would like to. But otherwise, just appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you next time.